Hello, I'm Grandmaster Mircea Parligras from Romania, and I'm going to present you the game between Grandmaster Pentala Harikrishna from India with white pieces versus Grandmaster Vincent Keymer with black pieces. The game was played at Biel tournament in 2020, round 4. Let's start. c4, c6, d4, d5, knight c3, knight f6, e3. Now black played e6. If bishop f5, white can go, of course, knight f3 transposing into Slav, but he has an additional option to take on d5, pawn takes d5, and now queen b3. Black decided to avoid all that. He goes e6, knight f3, knight bd7, and now white has two main moves, queen c2 and bishop d3, which was played in the game. Bishop d3 is more direct. D takes c4, bishop takes c4, b5. Now white's main move is bishop d3, which was played in many games. But for this game, Harikrishna decides to go bishop b3, a less known move. Now black should be doing fine, but he is almost out of book, and he has to find the most precise variations over the board. He goes b4. Another good choice is bishop b7 here, with idea if e4 then b4, and if the knight moves, then just knight e4 is coming. And after b4, if e5, then b takes e3, pawn takes f6, knight f6, bc3, bishop e7. Black is doing fine. And of course, after bishop b7, if white goes castle, then black can just go bishop e7, and he has a good position. White doesn't have the maneuver that he played in the game. Okay, let's go back to the game. So b4, and here white goes knight e2. He doesn't want to put the knight on the edge of the board. Knight e2, and this knight now has the idea to go to f4. Black goes bishop e7. Another interesting option was bishop d6, but for this, black had to know exactly what he was doing. It seems safer to play bishop e7. An interesting variation here could be, for example, e4, knight takes e4, queen c2, knight ef6 back, queen c6, and here black has to know queen c7, queen a8, knight b6, bishop a4, knight a4, knight e5 with unclear position. Back to the game. So black plays the more reasonable bishop e7 move. White castles, and here black goes bishop b7. Black is trying to achieve c5 as soon as possible, and then he would solve his problems, because white is left with this dark square bishop, which is not so active. He can only develop it to d2. And if black goes castle, then just knight f4 with similar ideas to the game. Okay, bishop b7, knight f4, and here black goes c5. If castle, then just knight g5 with ideas to sacrifice on actually on e6 probably. But also white has the idea to play e4. For example, if queen b6, he could go e4. Okay, seeing all this, and this already seems a bit dangerous for black, so he goes for c5. the freeing move. Knight g5, good move. Now all kind of sacrifices are threatened. Knight e6, but also interesting is knight f7, king f7 with knight e6, and then some discovered check. Black goes castle. Okay, castle is the normal move. He's almost forced to do this. For example, if queen b6, there could be knight f7, king f7, knight e6, which is quite unpleasant for black. There will be a discovered check. Okay, castle, and now white is more or less forced to sacrifice, so he goes knight e6, pawn takes, knight e6, queen c8. Black obviously has to avoid a discovered check by the knight. For example, queen b6 would just lose to t takes c5, and black cannot take back on c5. So queen c8 is a good move, and here white takes the pawn on c5 and not the rook. It is better to take on c5. If knight f8, then just king f8, and black is doing fine. White still has to solve the problem of his bishop, and the black pieces have good control over the center. So that's why he goes knight c5, king h8. There was also an option to go bishop d5, but it's probably similar to the game after knight e6, bishop e6, bishop e6, king h8, and now white can go f3, pushing e4 afterwards. So black goes king h8, knight takes b7. It is important to take this bishop. Queen b7, f3. Well, this is a good moment to assess the position. I think the position is quite unclear. I would slightly prefer white pieces here, but black also has his counterplay. So there are 3 pawns for the piece, for a knight. White can push the pawns, can push the pawn to e4, but it's not so easy to push afterwards. For example, if he goes e5, there could be knight e5, giving the black pieces a lot of squares. If he goes d5, he gives c5 square, e5 square. So it's not so easy. He can only push until e4. And also black has ideas to push a5, a4, and to put, for example, the rooks on the central files. Black goes a5. Actually, I slightly prefer rook a d8 here to make it more difficult for white to push the central pawns. For example, e4, there is knight c5 now, which works because of the pin. Queen c2, bishop c2, and now queen c7. Black suddenly gets a lot of activity. So a more restrained move should be queen e2 to prepare the e4 push. And now knight b6, rook d1, a5, e4, a4, bishop c2 with an unclear position. Okay, back to the game. It's not so easy to play this position over the board, but probably it's easier to play it with white. So black goes a5, e4, logical, knight b6 to prepare a4, queen e2, a4, bishop c2. Here black has pushed his pawns on the queen side, and probably the good way to continue is to play a3, when white could play b3 like in the game. But then there is this c3 square, and maybe black could consider playing the rook from a8 to c8, and keep the other rook on f8, which is more active. In the game he played rook fc8, bishop d3, and now he goes a3, b3. And he managed to get this a3 b3, but the rook on 8 is not so good. It was more useful on f8, for example. Okay, he goes queen d7. For example, if rook c3 right now, then bishop d2. Okay, black has some ideas to sacrifice this rook on c3, but it is better to avoid all this. So he goes for queen d7 first, bishop e3, rook c3. And this is quite a good square for the rook, and white has to be careful not to lose the a2 pawn, for example, after which this a3 pawn could become very dangerous. Rook a d1. White is finishing the development and is optimizing his pieces. Rook d8, king h1, queen e8. Okay, at this moment, white has almost half an hour more than black on the clock. 38 minutes to 8 minutes for black, and this is because it seems that white was better prepared in the opening, and also his position was easier to play. Here he went bishop g1, simply removing the bishops from the center, so as to he wants to play bishop b1 and then try to push the pawns in the center. An interesting choice was to play g3 here, for example. Bishop f8, rook e1, queen h5, and king g2. White is slightly better, but it is still not clear how he can push the pawns in the center. Probably some d5 at some point, but it's not easy. Okay, he goes bishop g1, bishop f8, queen e1, knight bd7. This is against d5, obviously, and now after d5 this knight could have good squares, for example e5 or even c5. White is preparing bishop b1, so now these bishops have nice activity from afar, but it's still not clear how to push in the center. And here it is a critical moment, but black was quite low on time. So the good move was queen h5, and it is still not clear how white should proceed with these pawns. As I mentioned before, e5, there is knight d5, so it looks quite bad. And d5 is giving black options to go either knight c5 or knight e5, or even bishop d6 with some pressure there. So it's not clear how white should proceed. The position is probably unclear, but it is white still has an advantage because of the time and of the time on the clock, and maybe he can prepare the pawn push in a good way. Nevertheless, in the game, black played knight h5, which looked tempting to in order to go for the f4 square, but here white proved to be very precise. He goes e5. This is the point. Now the knight cannot go to d5, so white finds the right way to push e5, and queen e4 is a threat, for example, now attacking on h7, and afterwards queen e4 with g4 even, or simply to push the pawns in the center, d5, f4. So it's probably black is close to losing here already. For example, knight b6, queen e4, g6, d5 is just losing. G6 again, queen e4, centralizing the queen is decisive. Interesting was g5 here with idea if queen e4 then queen g6 to get some counterplay. But white can be more precise, playing g3, just shutting off this knight completely out of play. Knight g7, queen e4, and then d5 is winning for white. Okay, here the position was already very bad for black, and he was down to 1 minute on the clock. He goes queen e6, which sets a nice trap. White played very precise here. He goes for queen h4, but black's idea was if queen e4, then queen h6, defending on h7 and threatening knight g3. But white was very white was very precise here. He goes queen h4, queen h6. Already, if queen e8, then g4 is winning a piece, and white will be 2 pawns up or 3 pawns up. Queen h6, and now g4, very precise. Both the knight on h5 and the rook on d8 are hanging, but white couldn't take immediately on d8 because of knight g3. Okay, so g4, knight f4, and now again precise calculation from white. Okay, it's not so difficult, but in these moments when you are winning, you need to be precise. So he goes queen d8, taking the rook, and black doesn't. Black has some counterplay, but it's not enough. It doesn't justify a rook. So queen h3, rook f2, very good, defending on g2, and now black is just lost. Rook f3. Another good move was queen a8 here, and attacking the rook on f3 and defending the checkmate on g2. After rook f2, bishop f2, there is no checkmate on g2, and black is just one rook down and also one pawn, but it doesn't matter anymore. Queen h5, rook e1, and black resigned. So a fighting game, a very interesting game with material compensation, 3 pawns for white, 1 piece for black. It wasn't easy, but it proved to be easier to play for white. Okay, this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this game. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a nice day. Bye bye.